Hey everybody, as you know, if you're a subscriber to this channel, I am not a tech YouTuber. That's not what I do. These are my tools, my kayaks over there. I have a blue collar job. I live in the burbs. Maybe this is for you. Maybe this is what you want. I don't know. It's durable, got a great battery, dirt cheap, 300. It's under 300 bucks. Then maybe this is for you. I'm reviewing this because when I needed a phone after I shattered my old one, I went to look for reviews, and all the YouTube reviewers who do tech reviews, they kind of fall into two camps. So the guys like Marquise Brownlee and Mr. Mobile and Mr. Who's the Boss who review phones, but they review them in a studio, and I don't feel like they're really using them the way I use them. Mr. Mobile, he's pretty close, but he reviews only top-end phones, and he likes all the foldable stuff. I want a phone that suits how I use a phone, and these slabs of glass like the Galaxy and the iPhone, this does not suit how I use my phone. I needed a phone that was durable, will last all day, and does what I need a phone to do, and maybe had some fun tricks in it. And so this is an Ulefone Armor 25T Pro. I love this phone, and I've been using this phone as my daily driver, and in the video you'll see scratches all over this screen. This is a pre-installed plastic screen protector. There's scratches all over it because I'm actually using it. So before we get into it, just some basics. There's a lot of like unbox videos out there, and you can go online and you can see what's all in the box and all that jazz. I won't bore you with all that, but just some real brief basics. So it comes in the box with a glass screen protector. I have not installed that yet. It has a 30-watt charger and a USB cable, SIM ejector tool, all that stuff. 30-watt chargers. That's blazing fast. Be careful, don't plug your headsets into that. Burn them up, cause a fire. 6.78-inch screen. 396 ppi, 120 hertz refresh rate. So, and it's an LCD screen. So that's the only downside of the screen. It's LCD. OLEDs are technically better. It is IP68-69K rated and mil standard 810H, which means you can beat the stew out of it. You can drop this in the river, in the creek while you're doing what you do. Drop it on the ground. It's probably going to survive. I'll go into more about the rugged durability design of the phone later. And it has a 50 megapixel back camera, 32 megapixel front camera, and it also has an infrared camera and a thermal imaging camera. I'll get into more of those later as well. To buy the phone, this is something that kind of scared me. I was a little nervous. This is a Ulefone. I wasn't really familiar with Ulefone. I'd heard the name, I didn't know what they really did, but when I started researching rugged phones, this brand kind of came to the top. It was one of the top brands out there for me. And I've had Kyocera rugged phones in the past. They don't really make rugged phones anymore. They do, but they're not putting any effort into it. So this is a far better device than what Kyocera is making. But I wasn't sure about Ulefone. And then when I went to decide to buy one, I found out I had to buy it from Ulefone directly. When they're a Chinese company, don't worry, most of this stuff you're buying is Chinese. And that was like 500 bucks on their website. The price has actually come down since I bought it. Or I could get it on AliExpress for just under 300. I was kind of skittish about AliExpress. Never, just because I never dealt with them before. And then when I went to go buy it and pay for it, it said it was going to take a little over a month to get to me. So I actually had second thoughts about that. Like, a month, and my other phone was shattered. It still worked, but anyway, it actually got here in about 2 weeks, and most of that time was actually customs, not shipping. So I was really impressed with how fast it got here. Great price, $300 for a big phone that I love. So yeah, not bad. The design, specs, cameras, all that stuff actually for me comes second to the amazing, great physical design of this phone. And that may sound silly, like you think about a phone, you don't really think of the design of it. And the reason you probably don't think about the design is because you've been buying these stupid slabs that are boring and uninteresting and really not designed to be held by human hands. This is not designed to be held by human hands. This is shaped more like a bar of soap, which is notorious for not being easy to hold. It's shaped more like a bar of soap than anything you'd actually have. Normal things that are designed to be held are designed to be held ergonomically. Like this is the old school, nothing, and I've had no phone since we were using these that is as easy to hold as this thing is. Hammers, my tin snips, everything else in the world except for a cell phone is designed to be held by the human hand. And if you if you do have one of these slabs, you have to put it in one of these stupid cases so that you can actually grip it. So you can put it in silicone, because silicone is grippy. Glass is not. So this phone has these rails on the side, these metal rails, and they're not lines. It's not decoration. Those are actually indented grooves that your hand, your skin kind of sinks into when you're holding it. So when you're holding it on the side, you can hold it with 2 fingers on the side and you're not going to drop that phone. Good luck doing that with one of these slippery polished steel things. And the lines is kind of a design theme of the phone, the horizontal lines. It looks good, you know, it catches the light. And it's continued on over here on the corners. On the corners, if you rotate the phone around, you see on the corners, the top and the bottom, those grooves, those indents are in there. So even from the corners, there's something for your skin to grab onto, for your fingers to grab onto. So along with the fact that you can hold this phone, it has this lanyard. So if you were running and jogging with it and you lost grip of it, the lanyard's going to save you. This is not my first phone with a lanyard. This is an old Kyocera phone. It had a lanyard. And my goodness, the number of times I saved myself from dropping the phone with a lanyard is amazing. Especially if you're like out hiking or doing anything physical. You know, have you ever been hiking or doing something physical and you're trying to use your phone to video, and you see these videos of people doing this with their phones and they drop a phone out the window or something? The lanyard's going to save you from that. It's a silly little thing. It takes no effort for the manufacturer to do that. I honestly think they want you to break your phone. So the Ulefone here has the lanyard. I know I'm talking about simple things, but it's huge. It's a huge deal. The power button. The power button, first off, it's on the side. It's right here. It is raised up. It feels very different than the volume buttons. So the volume buttons also have that those horizontal lines, but the power button's a little higher and it has a very different tactile feel, and it has a nice clickiness to it, right? But that's also your fingerprint sensor. So if you have a phone and you don't want your fingerprints over the screen, but it has an under-screen fingerprint sensor, that's like the dumbest design in the history of humanity. That you have to use your phone, you have to put a fingerprint dead center of the screen. How dumb. So, but if it's on the side here, and the phone is sitting on a flat surface, and you go to pick it up, like this is just the natural way this phone works. Your finger hits that power button and unlocks the phone, because that's the fingerprint sensor. Or if the phone is face down and I go to pick it up, my thumb hits it. And when I pick it up, the screen's already unlocked and the phone is already on. It's a little thing, but it's huge. I've had them also, I think it was LG, had for a while they had fingerprint sensors on the back, and I actually like that better than it being on the front too, because then when you pick it up, your finger would hit it usually. But if it was on its back and you had to pick it up. So the side, the absolute best, perfect placement for a power button right there. Well done, Ulefone. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. I wouldn't improve that. I don't know how I could. That's amazing. Next thing. The camera bump. You see how big that thing is? That is a massive camera bump, right? But it also, let's see if we can get it to focus on there. It also repeats those horizontal lines, you see? And you think, well, that camera bump's huge. Yes, it's a huge camera bump, but it also gives you something to grab onto. So when you're holding it, it's another way to not drop the phone. And when I'm holding it scrolling, well, you see my index finger is supporting the phone. So if you want to hold it with your pinky underneath to support it, that's one way, or like that, and your index finger supporting it. And there's an app I have called, it's really simple, it's called Control Screen Orientation. And when that is up and running, the phone will actually work upside down. So if I'm using the phone upside down and the display will be right side up, now my pinky can rest right there, my fingers can rest right there, and I can have a double bit of support there. And my hand wraps all the way around the camera bump. I love the camera bump. And if the camera's on a flat surface, or the phone is on a flat surface, it's not going to wobble, because that is a rectangular camera bump. So it's not going to wobble. So if I'm just scrolling stuff with it just sitting on the desk, beautiful camera bump. And inside, underneath the glass on the back here, you see there's actually horizontal lines on this design, this gray piece here. So the horizontal line theme goes all throughout the phone. It's on the side rails, it's on the volume rockers, it's on the camera bump. It's on underneath the camera bump in the glass. Next thing about the holdability. Like I said, I'm going to go on this forever. So the back is Kevlar, or it's a Kevlar as they say. It's Kevlar. It looks Kevlar. You see that? I don't know if you can tell how well that's catching the light. It looks kind of like carbon fiber. They say it's Kevlar. That woven look. And it gives a little bit of tactility. I kind of wish it was a little more tactile. Like this is the old Kyocera one, and it has, well, it's all rubbed off on this one. It had like a rubberized texture to the back. I like that a little better, but this is still a million times better than a solid slab of glass, which, yeah, you're not going to get any traction on that. And last thing about the holdability of the phone, the physical design I want to get into is the screen is recessed. So for a long time, companies were bragging about their waterfall design or the rounded corners of the screen, so that if you were holding it, there's no way to grip it. It's just going to slide right out of your hand, right? Because that's all rounded. On these ruggedized phones, including this old Kyocera, the screen is a little bit recessed, so that if you were to put it face down, and there's something on that piece of wood or your desk or whatever, it's not going to scratch the screen. Like if there's any grit or sand or something, it's not going to scratch the screen because the screen is a little raised up. It's a little recessed in there. And the fringe benefit of that, or the secondary benefit of that, is that now you have a little lip you can grip. It's really hard to catch on camera. I mean, it's probably not even a millimeter deep, but so that's my fingertips holding on to the edge of the camera. Those slabs, you're not going to do that with. So yeah, my absolute favorite feature of the phone is how it feels in my hand and the fact that I'm not going to drop it. And then even if I did drop it, it's durable. It's probably not going to break. Okay. So next, let's get into some of the other features that I really like about the phone that makes it unique, that your flagship probably doesn't have. First off is a headphone jack. Look at that. How amazing to actually be able to have a headphone. So it's one of those things you're rarely going to use, probably, but when my Bluetooth set dies, I want to be able to plug that in and have a backup. And you can buy those little wired headsets at like grocery stores and convenience stores all over the world. They don't cost anything. I keep one at work. I keep a spare one in my car, and I have one next to the bed. Next is, this is just a fun one. I'm sorry, this has an IR blaster. IR blaster, what is that? Well, that's the thing on the front of your remote control that when you point it at your TV, that's how it communicates with the TV, from infrared light. So I don't know how well you can see that, but right there is an infrared blaster. So it's real simple to program. It literally took me 2 minutes to get my TV programmed. And now, even if everybody else in the house loses the TV remote and it slides between the couch cushions, or someone accidentally takes it and puts it in the refrigerator, Dad still has a TV remote. Another cool feature is reverse charging. So if you have a phone that wireless charges, my wife has a Galaxy, and we tested this out. You can take her phone. This is not her phone. This is an old phone. You can take her phone, put it right on top, and it'll start wirelessly charging that phone. Okay, so next, you may have noticed there's a little orange button over here, kind of a coppery orange colored button over here. That is a programmable button. A lot of phones are starting to have these now. They used to all have programmable buttons or extra buttons on the side. This one has 3 functions. And they're all 3 programmable. So a single press, a double press, or a triple press. A triple press for mine, I programmed it for a flashlight. By the way, the flashlight's crazy bright. It's actually 2 LEDs. I actually tested it against my old phones, and this one is dramatically brighter. Double press, however, is the camera. It has a 50 megapixel camera on the back and a 32 on the front. And one of the things I love about the camera is it doesn't have all the AI shenanigans. And just this year in 2024, they've started advertising AI on the flagship phones a lot. But they've been doing this for years. This is why the Pixel camera phones have been getting such great ratings, because the Pixel will take the picture you take and then morph it into, like, it uses AI. I mean, like 2 or 3 years ago, it was using AI to try and figure out what you took a picture of and fix it, right? So like if it was a person, it would try and focus on the person and blur the background. That's not actually the picture you took. It's the picture the camera thinks you wanted to take. This doesn't have all those shenanigans. It can do that. Matter of fact, it's somehow turned on now. But it will take just a regular picture, and I love that. So just to get into a little bit of the UI and the features of the camera, if you go into this, the more menu, it has the pro settings where you can like fiddle with the white balance and the contrast and all that stuff, the autofocus. It has a portrait mode which will pretty you up. I'm not interested in that, I'm gorgeous enough already. It'll record GIFs or GIFs, however you want to pronounce it. It'll record those natively. So like I've always had apps in the background where I could edit GIFs, whatever. In this one, you don't need that. It has a panorama mode, has a slow-mo mode, which I really love. Mono, bokeh, QR code reader, all that jazz. It also has this 50 megapixel mode. So it's a 50 megapixel camera, which is a big sensor. It doesn't have a wide angle, doesn't have a telephoto, but it has a 50 megapixel camera and you can take a 50 megapixel picture with it. Meaning like if you buy one of the top end phones, it might say a 200 megapixel camera, but then if you take the picture and then go look at the picture, it's a 12 megapixel picture. Well, what happened? Well, it's because the processing on the phone is taking it and using AI, using software to try and take all those pixels and figure out what you actually took a picture of, and then it creates the image for you. This will take that 50 megapixel picture and give you that 50 megapixel picture. I took a picture the other day at my son's school, and it was really weird lighting because it's dark inside and bright outside, and I was inside the building. And you can keep punching in on that picture, and you got to get way in there before the details start to break up. So I'm really impressed with the 50 megapixel part. Let's get into some of the cool toys. If you scroll over, talk about night pictures. This is the night vision camera, and you see right here, you see this looks really glowy, little bright red lights on the screen. That's because the camera picks up the infrared really well. Your naked eye doesn't pick that up. To the naked eye, this looks like this. These are LEDs that might be on or might not be on. They're really dim, so you really can't tell. But in the dark, I'll patch in some footage here. In the dark, in pitch black, I mean like you go into a closet and at night with all the lights in the house off, this will light it up just like you're seeing now. And in this footage, I can't see that tree. So this is outside my house. That's the sky. This is what the yard looks like. And there's the phone. To open up the camera, go into that night vision mode. That's what this thing sees. So there's a tree there. A very big tree. In this footage, I could not see that tree with the naked eye. I mean, like if I squinted, I could kind of make it out. I live in a very dark neighborhood at night, which I really love. So yeah, the night vision. The next cool toy, and you may be wondering why you ever need this. The next one is a thermal imaging camera. And if you know what a thermal imaging camera is, you know why this is so cool, and you know why you might want it. So that's me. This is the heat map of me. So you see my beard is colder than the rest of my face. There's a lot of uses for this. One of them that I've used personally is I have a little dog and we'll take her for walks at night, and at night I can't see her. But turn on the thermal imaging camera and dude, she glows. And the range is really good. It's probably like 40, 50, 60 feet. I don't know, maybe longer than that. So that's one usage. I'll be outside at night and I hear a critter running around and I've pulled the camera up and oh, it's a possum or a raccoon, not a coyote because we have coyotes around here. So just fun usage. Practical usages are like, if you have, this is one like almost everybody could use. If you have a house and like in the summertime outside it's hot and inside you have the air conditioner on so it's cold, if you take the camera and kind of pan across the wall, you'll see the walls are cold, cold, cold. But then if you see a hot spot, that would mean that the insulation inside the wall is missing or damaged. So this is an old house I live in, and if there was ever water damage in that siding, the insulation got wet and they didn't replace the insulation will sink down, and then you have like the wall's a heat sink and it's heating your house, and you know you can make that repair. And a thermal camera is great for that. If you were to buy a thermal camera on your own, you're probably talking $300, $400 for the entry-level stuff. There are some you can connect to the bottom of an iPhone or a Galaxy or any Android phone, and those are like $150 or so. This one has one built in, and this is a $300 phone. Another couple of cool features of the phone. One, it has an FM radio. And unlike, I've had other phones that had FM radios. Unlike them, this one you don't have to have the headphone plugged into the headphone jack, because the other ones would use the headphone cord as an antenna. This one doesn't do that. It has an antenna built in somehow. This is, here we'll just go ahead and hit play.
Timeshare Cancellation Company. Our knowledge, experience,
So
and results.
that's just a regular local radio station here. And you can actually record FM radio. So if you wanted to record a show, you can do that. And you heard how loud that speaker is.
With the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancel.
Going on that, it only has one speaker. It's at the bottom. And that I have found that if I hold the phone wrong, I cover it up. Now, luckily for a right-handed person, you usually sit with your pinky over here and the speaker's over there. So I'm not covering up that speaker very often. It has happened though, and it's only one. So, you know, if sound is really important to you, that will be an issue. And I used to have this bad boy. This is a Razor. It had two front-facing speakers, super loud. Razor chickened out and quit making phones. Thank God for Ulefone. In the software, I don't know if this is an Android 14, which this phone has. I don't know if this is Android 14 or what, but it has this button here that says extra dim. Now I work a lot at night, and so I want the phone to be dim. And even in the dark, if I can turn it back on, even in the dark, there we go. Even in the dark, that screen is really super dim, and no other phone I've had gets as dim as this one does. In my old phone, I've had a couple of phones with OLEDs. They don't get this dark. That is amazing. You hit that extra dim button, you can see how it dims it even at high brightness. Speaking of brightness, I don't know what the nit rating is. It's on par with my wife's Galaxy. So in broad daylight, if the sun is on the screen, you're going to have a hard time seeing it. I've never seen a phone that doesn't have that, but perfectly adequate. Another feature, and I don't know if this is Android 14 or not, 5G is kind of awesome until it's not. I've never seen a feature on a phone that goes from being amazing to being, I wish the phone didn't have it, as quickly as 5G does. Because if you have a good 5G signal, you know it's really fast and great, but if you turn or you get behind a tree, the 5G's gone. And some phones don't toggle between 5G and 4G well, or even Wi-Fi and 5G well. This phone has, let's get back into it, this toggle here, and you can turn the 5G radio on and off. And where I live, I can go from one room of the house to another and completely lose 5G. And if I'm streaming something, sometimes not just my phone, the Galaxies, the other phones we've had, in the middle of the stream, if you go to an area, if you're on 5G and you go to an area we don't have the 5G, which can be 10 feet away, the stream will stop. I don't know why I hate 5G, but hey, when it's good, we turn it on. Usually, I turn it off. Speaking of the 5G, so speaking of 5G, speaking of the network coverage, that was one of the things I was a little worried about, is it's not an American brand. They don't sell these phones at Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile. And all I could find online was that someone had gotten it working in Texas on T-Mobile. I'm on Verizon in the southeast of the USA. I got the phone. I literally popped out the SIM card of my old phone, popped it into this one, which by the way, you don't need a tool for. You can use your fingernail to pop out the SIM card tray. Dual SIMs, SD card slot. I don't know if I mentioned that. Popped it in, turned the phone on, and everything worked flawlessly. Then I read since then elsewhere that Ulefone apparently really prioritizes getting every radio possible in the phone, so they pretty much seem to work everywhere. Speaking of that, the radios they put in there, it also has the GPS stuff. It has, you know, regular American GPS. It has the GLONASS systems, all that stuff. So, hey, battery life. So I mentioned earlier, this phone has a 6,500 milliamp hour battery. Most flagships out there are between 4,000 and 5,000. Like the top of the line Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, that's the newest one they've gotten out, has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. That's great. This one's 1,500 bigger than that. I will kill the battery on a phone faster than anybody. I am a hardcore user. When I'm at work, I'll have multiple apps running. I run an app on the phone called AccuBattery. If you don't know about AccuBattery, it's another app you really need to have. It's great. It's free. I have the paid version because, you know. Anyway, you can go into AccuBattery and it'll track the health of your phone. It'll track your charging sessions. And so you can see how much you discharge the phone over the last 100 sessions of charging, and you can see just how close to zero you got. Normally in the past, I would run out of battery late afternoon, and I'd have to charge a phone. Every phone I've ever had, just without exception. This is the first phone I've ever had where I'm finishing the day with battery left. So I'm just gonna read off the percentages of how low the battery got every day. Mind you, this is a dude who charges his phone every day. I've never charged this phone midday unless I was just tinkering with it, trying to figure out, you know, trying to play with it. 65%, 65, 58, 64, 64, 64, 66, 70. Come on, there's some worse ones. 51, 43, 31. I got it down to 31% one day. 57, 42, 42. I'm looking for the lower numbers. 49. So anyway, that'll give you an idea. I'm not killing the phone. I'm going to bed with it at 40% on the lowest usually. And keep in mind, most days I don't even charge it to 100% because if you charge your phone to 100%, that actually does more wear and tear damage to the lifelong life of the battery. So I try to charge it to 80% and unplug it, which is one of the reasons I have AccuBattery. You can set it to have an alarm to warn you to unplug your phone. So at 80%, I'm like getting it down to 40%. At 100%, I'm getting it down to like 60%. And I think part of the reason of that is because it doesn't have a top-end processor. And this is one of the areas where I'm frustrated with the top-end phones. Like they keep chasing these amazing high-powered processors in your cell phones. Like Apple has their own silicone now. Google has their own silicone for the Pixel phones. And Samsung's using these top-end crazy Snapdragon processors. Look, I don't know that I need that. And if having a slower processor, this has a MediaTek Dimensity 6500 5G. That's what this is. It's, you know, the big boys will put this on a benchmark and say it's slower and worse and all this stuff, and also has a GPU in here, whatever. I don't care about those specs. What I care about is how usable it is. How can I do what I want to do on the phone? And I don't play games, but I use the heck out of the phone. Let me show you an example of what I mean. So I'm using split screen. So at the top here is Google Maps. I don't know if you can see how smoothly that's scrolling. At the bottom here is that AccuBattery app I was talking about. I don't know if you can see how smoothly that was scrolling. So 120 hertz. And in the middle here, this is a YouTube video. This is Mike Winger. So with Mike Winger talking on YouTube and two other apps running, and in this clip here, you'll see this is actually 4 apps running because I have the screen recorder app running. Flawlessly smooth. Do I need a faster processor than that? And maybe you're thinking, oh yeah, but can it play games? Well, dude, I'm an adult. I don't play a lot of games on my phone, and when I do, they're very simple, old school games. But just for fun, I downloaded Need for Speed No Limits and played it out of the box. I don't see any stuttering. I don't see anything. I don't see any lag. Why do I need a top-end processor if that processor means my battery doesn't make it through the day? So by pairing this processor, which is more than fast enough, I don't know who's doing anything more than this. I even process videos on this, and the processing videos is super fast as well. If the processor is good enough for that and provides the battery to last forever, which is what the YouTube guys who do the benchmarking stuff explain, then I don't want the top-end processor. I want this thing. I want my battery to last through the day, and I want to do what I do with the phone. So just in summary, if you use the phone in any way the way I do, you know, to make phone calls, text messaging, GPS, watching videos, maybe play a game every now and then, and if you've ever broken a phone, or maybe you're rocking a phone with a broken screen now, maybe this is for you. Maybe this is what you want. I don't know. It's durable, got a great battery, dirt cheap, 300. It's under 300 bucks. Then maybe this is for you. And if this is for you, or if it's not for you, if you use your phone differently, you know, hey, put it in the comments. If this is the type of video you would like to see on the channel, if you want more reviews like this, let me know, because maybe I'll use some of the money for the channel to buy other phones, or maybe I can even get like a sample from a company. I'll do more videos like this. I'll use the phone for a while and then say how they're actually like to use. Because I'm starting to think maybe this non-flagship, not, you know, Motorola, iPhone, Samsung, maybe that world of phones is where the actual good phones are. And the flagships, they can go be flagships. I don't need a Ferrari. I need like an SUV. This is like an SUV. And if I ever need to race, maybe I'll go get a flagship. But so like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, that really helps me out. And if you stick around, shortly I'm going to have another video about tech, just about cell phone design in general and some of the things I've seen over the years. So yeah, thanks for watching. All that jazz. Love you guys. Y'all take care.